The call came 3 days before Thanksgiving. I was on my couch, laptop open, finishing up a freelance project when my phone buzzed. Stepmom. Which was weird because she never called me directly. Everything always went through Dad. Hey Lisa, what's up? We need to talk. Your father and I are coming over tonight. Not, is that okay or are you free? Just a statement. They were coming. Sure. When? 6:30, make coffee. She hung up before I could respond. I looked around my house. My house. Legally mine since I was 12 years old, though I still thought of it as Mom's house most days. 2 bedrooms, small kitchen, living room that doubled as my office. Nothing fancy, but it was paid off and the property taxes were manageable on my freelance income. Mom had moved to Florida 3 years ago when she retired early. Left me the house she'd won in the divorce, the one she'd legally transferred to my name when I was 12 for reasons I never fully understood. Something about protecting it from Dad's future claims, she'd said. I was 24 now, paid all the bills, handled all the maintenance. It was mine in every way that mattered. Dad and Lisa visited every few months. Always pleasant, always polite, usually around holidays. I'd assumed this was another one of those visits. I was wrong. They arrived at 6:47 p.m. I'd made coffee like Lisa requested, even put out the good mugs. Dad looked uncomfortable the moment he walked in, hands in his pockets, not quite meeting my eyes. Lisa looked determined. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table Mom and I had eaten at for years before she moved. The same table where I'd done homework while Mom worked night shifts. The scratches in the wood from my middle school science project were still visible. Lisa didn't waste time. Thanksgiving is in 3 days, she said. My sister's family is coming to visit. 8 people total. Her 3 kids, her husband, my parents, my nephew, and his girlfriend. That's nice, I said, sipping my coffee. Should be a good time. They need a place to stay. Hotels are absurdly expensive during the holidays. I nodded. Yeah, Thanksgiving week is brutal for hotel prices. I can recommend some Airbnbs in the area if you want. There's a few nice ones about 15 minutes from your place. Lisa's face changed. That pleasant mask she usually wore cracked just slightly. No, they're staying here. I blinked. Here? This house? Yes. Lisa, this house only has 2 bedrooms. I don't think 8 people. Which is why you need to leave for the week. The coffee suddenly tasted like acid. I'm sorry, what? Dad finally spoke up. It's just for a week, Thanksgiving through the weekend. You can stay with friends, or get a hotel room. We'll cover half the cost. I set my mug down carefully. You want me to leave my house so your wife's family can stay here? It's not a big ask, Lisa said. You're one person. They're 8. The math is simple. The math is that this is my house. Lisa leaned forward, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never noticed before. Something cold. Technically, your mother gave you this house when you were a child, as part of her spite campaign against your father. You should be willing to share it with family. Real family. Real family. Those 2 words hung in the air like smoke. Mom put this house in my name legally, I said quietly. It's in the divorce decree, filed with the county, notarized, legal. You were 12, Lisa said dismissively. That was your mother being vindictive. Your father deserves access to this house too. He helped pay for it before the divorce. And he signed it away in the settlement, in exchange for keeping his retirement accounts, I'm pretty sure. Dad shifted uncomfortably. Son, we're not trying to start a fight. We just need help with Thanksgiving hosting. Family helps family. I agree, which is why I'm offering to help you find accommodations. But I'm not leaving my house. Lisa stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Listen to me very carefully. My family is coming. They're expecting to stay here. I already told them they could. You're being incredibly selfish. I'm being selfish. You showed up at my house and demanded I leave for a week. This house should be your father's. Your mother stole it from him. A judge awarded it to her in a legal proceeding. That's not stealing. Lisa's voice went cold. The polite mask was completely gone now. Get out. Pack your things. My family needs this space. You have until tomorrow morning. I stood up too. No. Excuse me? I said no. This is my house. You don't get to kick me out of my own house. I'm serious. Pack a bag. Leave the keys on the counter. We're moving them in Wednesday morning, whether you're here or not. Dad was still sitting, looking at his hands, saying nothing. Some distant part of me registered that my father was watching his wife try to illegally evict his son and wasn't saying a word to stop her. I walked to the front door and opened it. You need to leave, now. Lisa didn't move. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. In my house, on my property, that's legally mine. She grabbed her purse, walked to the door, stopped right in front of me. You're going to regret this. When your father cuts you off, when the family finds out how selfish you are, when everyone knows you ruined Thanksgiving, you're going to wish you'd been reasonable. I'll take my chances. Dad finally stood, walking slowly to the door like a man heading to his execution. Son, please, think about this. I have. The answer is no. You're really going to let your pride ruin a family holiday? My pride? Dad, she just tried to kick me out of my house. He didn't have an answer for that. Just shook his head and walked out. Lisa slammed the car door hard enough that I heard something rattle. They drove off, taillights disappearing down the street. I closed the door, locked it, put the chain on. Stood there for a moment in the silence of my house, my heart pounding, hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. Then I walked back to the kitchen table, sat down, and opened my laptop. 8:34 p.m. I pulled up the folder where I kept important documents. Birth certificate, social security card, car title. And there, in a subfolder labeled House Stuff, was Mom's divorce decree and the property transfer documents. I opened them. Read through the legal language I'd skimmed a dozen times before, but never really absorbed. The house had been awarded to Mom, then immediately transferred to a trust in my name, with Mom as trustee until I turned 18. At 18, it became fully mine. All very clearly spelled out over 15 pages of legal documentation. There was a section I'd never paid attention to before. Page 11, paragraph 7. Dad's signature at the bottom, notarized, dated 12 years ago. Party A, Father, hereby waives all future claims, rights, or interest in the property located at 4477 Maple Street, including but not limited to residential use, financial benefit, or inheritance consideration. This waiver is permanent and irrevocable. He'd signed away everything, permanently. I sat back, staring at the screen. Then I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in years. Michael Richardson, Mom's divorce attorney. The guy who'd handled everything 12 years ago, who'd sat across from Young, scared me, and promised everything would be okay. I didn't even know if he was still practicing law. Left a voicemail. Hi, Mr. Richardson. This is me. I don't know if you remember, but you handled my mom's divorce 12 years ago. The house on Maple Street. I have an emergency situation and I really need advice. Please call me back if you get this. Hung up feeling slightly ridiculous. It was 8:30 on a Tuesday night. He probably wouldn't even get the message until morning. My phone rang at 9:12 p.m. This is Michael Richardson. I absolutely remember you. What's going on? I explained everything. The visit, the demands, Lisa's threats, the real family comment, the ultimatum about leaving by tomorrow morning. He was quiet for exactly 5 seconds. I counted. Then, do not leave that house. Do not give them keys. Do not let them inside under any circumstances. I'll handle this. What are you going to do? Your mother didn't just transfer that house. She put very specific legal protections in place for situations exactly like this. Your father signed documents waiving all claims, not just to ownership, to everything. He can't demand access, can't claim parental rights to the property, can't argue for shared use. Nothing. I saw the waiver in the decree, but can they really just, they can't do anything. What they're threatening is illegal eviction, trespassing, and possibly fraud if they've made copies of your keys. I'm going to make some calls tonight. Be at your house tomorrow at 10 a.m. Don't answer the door for anyone except me. And if they show up before I get there, call the police immediately. Mr. Richardson, Michael, and don't worry, They picked the wrong battle. Your mother made sure of that 12 years ago. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, feeling something between relief and terror. This was really happening. My stepmother had tried to kick me out of my own house, and my father had backed her up. Or at least hadn't stopped her. I made myself another coffee, even though I definitely didn't need the caffeine. Sat at my laptop trying to work, but mostly just staring at the divorce documents. Around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. Dad, we need to talk about tomorrow. Lisa says we can compromise. Maybe you stay in your bedroom. They use the living room and guest room. Everyone shares the house for the week. I almost laughed. Dad, no. The answer is no. Why are you being so difficult about this? Why are you trying to force me out of my house? It's 1 week. You're acting like we're stealing from you. You are. You're trying to steal my space, my privacy, my home, for people I've never met, because Lisa decided that's what's happening. She's my wife, and this is my house. He hung up this time. I turned my phone on silent and went to bed. Didn't sleep much. Kept running through scenarios, imagining what tomorrow would bring, wondering if Michael was right, if Mom's legal protections would actually hold, wondering if my father would ever forgive me for this, wondering if I cared. I woke up at 7:15 a.m. to the sound of my phone buzzing. Not a call, text messages. Dad, we're being reasonable. Please reconsider. Lisa, my family is on the road. They'll be here by 10:30. Be gone. Unknown number. Hi, this is Sandra, Lisa's sister. So excited to stay at your place. See you soon. I stared at that last one for a full minute. They'd given Sandra my number, told her she was staying here, like it was already decided. Like my no last night had just been a negotiating position. I got out of bed, made coffee, and texted Michael. They're still coming. Sister says they'll be here at 10:30. He replied immediately, perfect. I'll be there at 10. Don't engage until I arrive. At 9:47 a.m., I heard a car pull up outside, then another, then a third. I looked out the window. 3 cars in my driveway and on the street. Doors opening. People getting out, stretching. Kids running around the front yard like they owned it. I counted. 8 people, just like Lisa said. Sandra, who I recognized from Facebook photos. A man who must be her husband. 3 kids ranging from maybe 6 to 12. 2 elderly people, probably Lisa's parents, and a younger couple I didn't recognize. They had suitcases, plural, big ones. My doorbell rang at 10:03 a.m. I didn't answer. It rang again. Then knocking. Then Lisa's voice. We know you're in there. Open the door. I stood in my living room, watching through the window as they clustered on my porch. Sandra was saying something to the kids. Lisa's dad looked confused. The husband was checking his phone, probably looking at whatever lies Lisa had told them about this arrangement. 10:23 a.m. The knocking got more aggressive. Then I heard it. A key sliding into my lock, the handle turning. Lisa's voice, triumphant. See? I told you I had a spare. We don't need his permission. The door didn't open. She tried again. Jiggled the key. Pulled it out, looked at it, tried again. It's not working. Her voice was rising, that edge of panic people get when their plans fall apart. I walked to the door. Didn't open it. Just spoke through it loud enough for everyone to hear. That key doesn't work because I changed the locks last night. Silence. Then chaos. Lisa. You what? Sandra. Wait, what's going on? Lisa said this was arranged. Lisa's dad. Honey, maybe we should just… Lisa screaming now. Open this door right now. No. I heard her telling someone to call the police. Heard her saying I was illegally locking out my father from his own property. Heard Sandra asking if they should just go to a hotel. Then I heard something else. A car pulling up, engine shutting off. Car door closing with that solid, expensive thunk of a well-made vehicle. I looked out the side window. Black Lexus SUV. Michael Richardson getting out of the driver's side, looking exactly like a divorce attorney who'd been dealing with family drama for 30 years. Gray suit, leather briefcase, the kind of calm expression that said he'd seen worse than this. But he wasn't alone. The passenger door opened. A man in a county uniform stepped out. Badge visible even from inside the house. Official clipboard. The kind of clipboard that means paperwork and consequences. Michael walked up to my porch where 8 people and Lisa were still clustered around my door. "Good morning," he said pleasantly. "I'm attorney Michael Richardson, representing the property owner." He gestured toward my house, toward me inside it. Lisa spun around. "Property owner? His father?" Michael held up one hand, reached into his briefcase with the other, pulled out a stack of documents that looked official and expensive and very, very permanent. "This property was legally transferred to my client 12 years ago as part of divorce settlement number 2013-47822, filed with the county, notarized, recorded in public records." He handed a copy to Lisa, then to Dad, who I could now see standing slightly behind the crowd, looking gray. "Page 3, Michael continued. "Your husband's signature. He waived all future claims, rights, and interests in this property, in exchange for keeping his retirement accounts intact. All of them." Lisa was flipping through the pages, her face getting redder. "This is from 12 years ago. He has rights as a father. He has no rights to this property. None. He signed them away. Permanently." Michael turned to address the whole group now, his voice carrying easily. "I'm very sorry you've been inconvenienced, but you were never authorized to be here. The owner of this property, my client, declined your request to stay here. What's happening right now is trespassing." Sandra stepped forward, her husband pulling at her arm. "Trespassing?" "Lisa said this was her stepson's place and he was letting us stay for Thanksgiving. She said it was all arranged." "It wasn't arranged," Michael said simply. "It was demanded. And when my client refused, you were told to come anyway. That makes this trespassing." Lisa's dad spoke up, his voice shaky. "We drove 6 hours. The kids are tired. Can't we just work something out?" "I'm afraid not. The property owner has been clear. He wants you to leave." That's when the man in the county uniform stepped forward. He looked official and bored, and like he'd done this 1,000 times. "I'm Frank Harrison, building inspector for the county. I'm here to serve formal trespass warnings." He pulled out a small stack of papers from his clipboard. "If you don't vacate this property within 5 minutes, criminal charges can be filed. That includes arrests, fines, and a permanent record." One of the kids started crying. Sandra's husband was already pulling suitcases back toward their car. Lisa's mom looked like she wanted to disappear into the pavement. Dad finally spoke. "Son, please, can we just talk about this?" I opened the door for the first time, stepped out onto my porch, looked at my father. "You signed away this house 12 years ago, Dad. You chose the retirement money. That was your decision. Now you want it back? You want to give your wife access to something you legally gave up? That's not how this works." "I didn't think..." "You didn't think what? That I'd actually say no? That I'd stand up for myself? Or you didn't think at all?" Lisa tried one more time, her voice shrill. "This is absolutely insane. You're kicking out children? On Thanksgiving week?" Michael's voice went cold. "No one's kicking out children. They were never invited. You lied to your family, brought them here under false pretenses, and attempted to gain illegal entry with an unauthorized key. My client offered to help you find appropriate accommodations yesterday. You refused." Frank the inspector checked his watch. 4 minutes, folks." The crowd started moving. Slowly at first, then faster. Sandra was crying now, saying something to Lisa about "never again" and "can't believe you lied to us." The kids were being loaded into cars. Lisa's parents were already backing down the driveway. Lisa stood on my porch, shaking with rage. "This isn't over. We're family. Your father deserves..." "My father signed legal documents," I said quietly. "What he deserves is what he agreed to 12 years ago. Nothing more." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. Dad touched her arm. "Lisa, we need to go." "No, this is..." "Lisa." His voice was firm, broken. "We need to go." She let him lead her down the steps, watched them get into their car. Watched as 3 vehicles full of angry, confused, betrayed people drove away from my house. Michael and Frank stood with me on the porch, watching them disappear down the street. "That went better than expected," Frank said cheerfully. Usually someone throws a punch by now. You've done this before? I asked. Oh yeah. Property disputes are my specialty. You'd be surprised how often family tries to claim rights to houses they don't own. He handed me a card. You have any more trouble? Call me directly. I'll file official reports. He walked back to his car, whistling. Michael turned to me. Your mom called me 3 years ago when she moved to Florida. Said if anything ever happened with your dad and that property, I should handle it immediately. She updated her emergency contact list with my number. She knew this would happen? She knew your father. And apparently, she knew his wife too. He pulled out another document from his briefcase. This is a cease and desist letter, already drafted, ready to send. If they contact you again demanding access to this property, we file for harassment and possibly a restraining order. Do you think they will? I think they just got embarrassed in front of their entire extended family. I think Lisa's sister is probably screaming at her right now in a hotel parking lot. I think your father just had to face something he's been avoiding for 12 years. He smiled slightly. No, I don't think they'll bother you again. He handed me a folder. Copies of everything. The decree, the waiver, today's trespass warning, the cease and desist. Keep them somewhere safe. How much do I owe you for this? Your mother set up a retainer 12 years ago. We're good. He started walking to his car, then turned back. She was a smart woman, your mom. Put protections in place for exactly this situation. She knew that someday, someone would try to take advantage of you. She made sure they couldn't. He drove away. I stood on my porch alone, holding a folder full of legal documents that proved what I'd known deep down but never quite believed. This house was really mine, completely, permanently. No one could take it from me. I walked back inside, locked the door, made myself lunch. My phone started buzzing around 2 p.m. Texts, calls, voicemails. All from numbers I didn't recognize. Lisa's family, I assumed. Calling to yell, to explain, to guilt, to manipulate. I blocked every single one. By evening, my phone had finally gone quiet. I sat on my couch in my house, eating leftover pizza, watching a show I'd been meaning to catch up on. Thanksgiving was in 2 days. I'd be spending it alone. And for the first time in my life, that sounded absolutely perfect. Thanksgiving Day came and went quietly. I ordered Chinese food, watched football, and ignored 17 calls from numbers I didn't recognize. By evening, my voicemail was full. I deleted all of them without listening. Friday morning, I woke up to my phone exploding. Not calls this time. Notifications. Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn somehow. All because of one post. Lisa had written a novel, posted Thursday night, apparently right after their disaster Thanksgiving dinner, at whatever hotel they'd scrambled to find. Complete with a photo of her looking sad and disappointed. The kind of staged photo people take specifically for sympathy. The post. Heartbroken this Thanksgiving. My stepson refused to let my family stay at his house, a house his father helped pay for before a bitter divorce. 8 people, including children and elderly parents, were forced to find last-minute accommodations during the holidays. Some family values. When did our children become so selfish and entitled? Praying he learns what family really means. Disappointed. Family. First, Thanksgiving, heartbreak. It had 147 comments already, most of them supportive. That's terrible. Kids today have no respect. You deserve better than this. I'd never let my stepchildren treat me this way. I felt sick reading it. Watched in real time as more comments piled on. People who didn't know me or the situation deciding I was the villain in Lisa's carefully crafted story. Then I scrolled down further and saw it. Aunt Karen. Mom's sister. The one who'd helped us move out of Dad's house 12 years ago. The one who'd sat through the divorce proceedings and held Mom's hand through the worst of it. She'd posted a comment with 3 attachments. Since we're sharing stories, here's the actual story. Photo 1. Divorce decree showing the house was legally awarded to his mother, then transferred to a trust in his name at age 12. Photo 2. Page 3 of said decree, showing his father signed a permanent waiver of all rights to the property. Photo 3. His father's signature, notarized, giving up all future claims in exchange for keeping his retirement accounts. He didn't refuse to let family stay. He refused to be illegally evicted from his own property by people who showed up uninvited with suitcases. Facts matter. The comments shifted immediately. Oh, oh, wait, so she lied? He legally owns it? That changes everything. You can't just demand someone leave their own house. The audacity to call him selfish when she tried to kick him out. I watched Lisa's post unravel in real time. People started deleting their supportive comments. Others started asking questions she couldn't answer without admitting the truth. Within an hour, the post was gone. Deleted. Like it never existed. But screenshots live forever. By Friday afternoon, 3 different relatives had sent me copies with messages like, "Wow, she really tried it, and can't believe her nerve." Saturday brought a phone call from Dad. I almost didn't answer. Almost let it go to the voicemail I'd stopped checking. But something made me pick up. What? Not even a hello. Just what? Because I was tired and still angry and completely done with all of it. "Your stepmother's family is staying in a hotel," he said. No greeting either. "It's costing us $1,400 for the week. Can you please reconsider? Let them move in for just the remaining few days?" I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. "You're calling to ask if the people who tried to illegally evict me can now stay in my house? We shouldn't have to pay hotel costs when there's a perfectly good house sitting empty. It's not sitting empty. I live here. You know what I mean. You have extra space. They're family. They're your wife's family, not mine. I've never even met most of them." "That's not the point." "That's exactly the point, Dad. You and Lisa decided they were staying here without asking me. When I said no, you tried to force it anyway. Now you're upset about the natural consequences of your own choices." Silence on his end. I could hear hotel sounds in the background. A TV, people talking. That weird echo of too many people in a small space. "The hotel is really expensive," he said finally, quietly. "Then you should have listened when I suggested hotels and Airbnbs on Tuesday. This was preventable. You're punishing us financially." "No, I'm protecting my space. You're paying for yours. That's how it works." He hung up without saying goodbye. Week 2 brought something I didn't expect. An apology. Sort of. Email from Sandra, Lisa's sister. Sent Tuesday morning. "Hi, I don't know if you remember me from that disaster at your house. I'm Lisa's sister. I wanted to apologize for showing up like that. Lisa told us you'd agreed to let us stay, that it was all arranged, that you were going to stay with a girlfriend for the week. We had no idea she was lying. We had no idea the house was legally yours, or that she was trying to force you out. I'm so sorry we were part of that. My kids were terrified when the inspector showed up. They didn't understand what was happening. I haven't spoken to Lisa since Saturday. I don't know if I will for a while. Anyway, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve any of that." I read it 3 times, trying to find the angle, the manipulation, the guilt trip. But it seemed genuine. I wrote back, "Thanks for this. I appreciate it. For what it's worth, I'm sorry your Thanksgiving got ruined. That wasn't my intention. I just couldn't let someone kick me out of my own house." She replied within minutes. "I understand completely. If someone tried that with me, I'd have done worse than change the locks. Take care." That was it. Brief. Honest. The only reasonable interaction I'd had with anyone from that side of the family. Month 1 arrived with another email. This time from Dad. Subject line: "We need to talk." "Son, I've had time to think about what happened. I didn't realize the legal situation was so clear-cut. I thought I still had some rights to the house since I helped pay the mortgage before the divorce. Michael Richardson explained that I waived all of that when I signed the settlement. I don't remember signing that waiver. I don't remember a lot from that time, honestly. Your mother and I weren't speaking much. Everything went through lawyers. But I signed it. I know I did because my signature is right there on page 3. Can we meet for coffee? I'd like to talk without Lisa present. I need to understand what happened. And I need to apologize properly." I stared at that email for 2 days. Wrote and deleted responses a dozen times. Finally sent. "The legal situation hasn't changed in 12 years, Dad. You just ignored it until it became inconvenient. I'm not ready to meet yet. Maybe someday, but not now. He didn't respond. Month 2 brought an unexpected phone call. I was at the grocery store debating between two kinds of pasta sauce when my phone rang. Florida area code. Mom. Hey, sweetie. Your Aunt Karen told me what happened. I've been laughing for 2 days straight. I moved my cart to the side of the aisle. You think this is funny? I think it's perfect. Exactly what I put those protections in place for. She was laughing again. Lisa tried to kick you out of your own house? Actually showed up with 8 people in suitcases? You knew this would happen? Not specifically, but I knew your father would eventually try something. Either him or whoever he married next. I knew he'd forget he signed away his rights. I knew he'd think that being your father meant he could override legal documents. She paused. I'm proud of you, honey, for standing your ground. Why didn't you tell me about the protections? The permanent waiver? Any of it? Because I wanted you to know the house was yours. Completely. Without doubt. Without thinking you needed to check with me or your father or anyone else. If I'd told you about all the legal safeguards, you might have felt like it was still partially his. But it's not. It never was. Not since you were 12. I stood there in the pasta aisle, holding my phone, trying not to cry in the middle of a grocery store. The documents say you set up a retainer with Michael Richardson 3 years ago when you moved to Florida. I updated everything when I left. Made sure he had current contact info, funding for any legal issues you might face. Your father was already remarried by then. I'd met Lisa twice. I knew. She laughed again. I just didn't think she'd be stupid enough to try it during Thanksgiving. She posted on Facebook calling me selfish and entitled. I saw, before she deleted it, your Aunt Karen is a treasure. Dad called asking if they could move in for the rest of the week after paying for a hotel. Mom went quiet. What did you say? I said no. Good. Don't ever let them make you feel guilty for having boundaries. That house is yours. Your space. Your rules. We talked for another 20 minutes. About Florida, about her new friends, about the life she'd built after spending years in a marriage that made her miserable. When we hung up, I realized something. Mom had spent 12 years planning for this moment. Making sure I'd be protected. Making sure I'd have the legal backing to say no and make it stick. She'd known my father better than he knew himself. Month 3 brought silence. No calls, no emails, no posts, no drama, just normal life. Work, groceries, fixing a leaky faucet, dealing with property taxes. I ran into Dad's friend Mark at the hardware store. He saw me, hesitated, then came over. Hey, how are you doing? Fine, you? Good, good. Awkward pause. I heard about Thanksgiving. Your dad's been pretty quiet about the whole thing. Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. I've known your dad for 20 years. He's a good guy. But Lisa, he trailed off. She's got her own way of seeing things, and he goes along with it more than he should. Did he tell you what happened? Some of it. Enough to know you weren't wrong. Mark grabbed a box of nails from the shelf. He's embarrassed. That's why he's been quiet. He knows he messed up. Whether he'll admit it is another question. That conversation stuck with me. Dad wasn't angry. He was embarrassed. There was something satisfying about that. By month 4, I'd almost stopped thinking about it. Almost stopped checking my phone for angry messages or surprise visits. Almost relaxed back into normal life. Then I saw them. Dad and Lisa. At Target on a random Wednesday afternoon. I was in the electronics section, looking at phone chargers when I heard Lisa's voice in the next aisle over. That specific tone she used when she was complaining about something. Still can't believe he chose material possessions over family. It's shameful. Dad's voice, quiet. He didn't choose possessions. We tried to take his house. We didn't try to take anything. We were sharing. That's what families do. Lisa, please, not here. I grabbed a charger and headed to checkout. Didn't want to see them. Didn't want the confrontation. But Dad saw me. Our eyes met across the store. He looked older somehow. Tired. Maybe sad. He looked away first. Kept walking. I checked out and left. Got in my car and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. This is your father. I got a new number. Lisa doesn't have access to this one. I saw you at Target. I'm sorry I didn't say hello. I'm sorry for a lot of things. I don't expect forgiveness. Just wanted you to know I'm sorry. And that I understand now what I signed away 12 years ago. You were right. The house is yours. It always was. Take care of yourself. I read it twice, didn't respond. Drove home to my house, my property, my space, made dinner, watched TV, lived my life. The text sat in my phone, unread according to the system, but read by me a dozen times over the next few days. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe someday we'd have that coffee he wanted. But today wasn't that day. And I was okay with that. Month 6 brought summer heat and an unexpected conversation. I was at the farmer's market on a Saturday morning, loading tomatoes into a bag, when I heard someone call my name. Sandra, Lisa's sister. The one who'd apologized by email months ago. She walked over with a coffee in hand, looking relaxed in a way I didn't remember from Thanksgiving. Hey, thought that was you. Hi. Awkward pause. Then she laughed. This is weird, right? Running into each other after that disaster? A little. I'm in town visiting a friend. Haven't talked to Lisa since February. She said it casually, but there was weight behind it. We had it out after Thanksgiving. Turns out lying to your entire family about housing arrangements is a relationship ender. Who knew? I'm sorry that happened. Don't be. I needed to see who she really was. Spent years making excuses for her behavior, chalking it up to personality quirks. But trying to kick you out of your own house? She shook her head. That's not a quirk. That's calculated cruelty. We stood there in the middle of the farmer's market, surrounded by people buying organic vegetables and artisan bread, having a conversation I never expected to have. My parents still talk to her, Sandra continued. They're doing the don't make us choose thing. But holidays are going to be interesting from now on. Pretty sure there's a Sandra or Lisa attendance policy forming. That must be hard. It's clarifying, actually. Some people you love because they're family. Some people you love because they've earned it. Lisa's in the first category now. That's all she gets. She finished her coffee. Anyway, I just wanted to say hi, and to tell you I get it. Boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. She walked away before I could respond. I stood there holding my bag of tomatoes, thinking about categories of family and what people earn versus what they're given. Month 8 brought news through the family grapevine. Aunt Karen called. Did you hear? Your dad and Lisa are selling their house. What? Why? Officially, they're downsizing. Want something more manageable. But your cousin Jenny works at the title company handling the sale. She saw the paperwork. They're underwater on the mortgage, behind on payments, selling before it gets worse. I felt something twist in my chest. How behind? 4 months. Ever since Thanksgiving, apparently. That hotel cost more than the $1,400 your dad mentioned. Whole week, multiple rooms, last-minute holiday rates. Put them in a hole they never climbed out of. I didn't know. They didn't want you to know. Your dad's too proud. But the math is simple. They overspent, overextended, made bad choices. Now they're dealing with consequences. She paused. Sound familiar? It did sound familiar. Just different people, different circumstances. Same lesson. Where are they moving? Condo near the highway. 2 bedrooms, no yard. Your dad's selling his workshop equipment. Lisa's furious about losing her craft room. Aunt Karen laughed. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. After we hung up, I sat with that information for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. They'd tried to take my space, lost theirs instead. Poetic justice. But another part just felt sad. Dad was 62. Selling a house he'd lived in for 8 years, downsizing because of financial decisions made in anger and entitlement. I didn't cause it. But I didn't stop it either. And I was okay with both of those facts. Month 10 brought another grocery store encounter. This time at Whole Foods, in the cereal aisle at 8 p.m. on a Thursday. I was tired from work, just wanted to grab some basics and go home. Dad was there, alone, looking at cereal boxes like they contained the answers to questions he hadn't figured out how to ask yet. He saw me, froze. I watched him debate whether to pretend he hadn't seen me or acknowledge it. He chose acknowledgement. Hey, hey. We stood 6 feet apart, strangers who used to be family, separated by more than just distance. How are you? He asked. Good. You? Okay. He gestured vaguely at his cart. Just picking up some things. We moved last month. Smaller place. Closer to Lisa's work. I heard. He nodded. Looked relieved he didn't have to explain. It's fine. Good, actually. Less maintenance. Cheaper utilities. That's good. The conversation was dying, but neither of us moved. I got your text, I said finally. From April, the new number. I didn't expect you to respond. I read it, though, multiple times. Something in his face changed, softened. That's more than I deserved. We stood in silence that felt different from before. Not comfortable exactly, but not hostile either. Just two people existing in the same space, acknowledging damage without demanding repair. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For all of it. For letting Lisa push that situation, for signing away the house and then forgetting I did. For not standing up for you when I should have. For calling you selfish when you were just protecting your space. He took a breath. I've had a lot of time to think, made a lot of mistakes. But trying to take your house was the biggest one. I nodded. Didn't say, it's okay, because it wasn't. Didn't say, I forgive you, because I wasn't sure I did yet. Just nodded. Maybe we could get coffee sometime, he said. No pressure, no expectations, just coffee. Maybe someday, I said. But not yet. That's fair. He grabbed a box of cereal. Generic brand, I noticed. Not the expensive organic stuff he used to buy. Take care of yourself, he said. You too, Dad. He walked away first this time, pushed his cart toward the checkout lanes while I stood there holding a box of pasta and feeling things I couldn't quite name. Year one arrived with unexpected clarity. I was sitting on my porch on a Saturday afternoon, drinking coffee and reading, when it hit me. A full year since Thanksgiving. Since Lisa's demand that I leave my house. Since 8 people showed up with suitcases. Since Michael Richardson and Frank Harrison served trespass warnings. A full year of consequences and silence and slowly rebuilding a sense of normal. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Happy anniversary of the day you stood your ground. Proud of you. Always. I smiled. Texted back. Thanks for the 12-year insurance policy. Best money I ever spent. Love you. That evening, I got another text. Dad's new number. 1 year ago today, I made a terrible mistake. I know you're not ready for coffee yet. That's okay. But I wanted you to know I haven't forgotten. And I'm still sorry. Happy Thanksgiving when it comes around again. Hope it's peaceful. I stared at that message for a long time. Wrote and deleted 3 different responses. Finally sent, thanks. You too. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. It was just acknowledgement that we were both still here, still trying to figure out what relationship looked like after everything fell apart. That was enough for now. I called Aunt Karen that night. Did you know Dad and Lisa sold their house because of Thanksgiving costs? I did. Do you think that makes me responsible for their financial problems? She was quiet for a moment. I think they made choices that had consequences. You set a boundary. They pushed against it. They spent money trying to force their way. That's not your fault. That's just math. Mom said she predicted all of this, that she knew Dad would try something eventually. Your mother is a smart woman. She knew your father would forget what he signed away, knew he'd think family obligations override legal documents, so she made sure you were protected. Karen paused. You want to know what I think the real lesson is? What? Some people think love means access. That being family means you get to take what you want. But real love respects boundaries. Real family doesn't demand you sacrifice your space, your peace, your rights, just to prove loyalty. I thought about that long after we hung up. Thought about Lisa's real family comment, about Dad's assumption that 1 week wasn't a big ask, about 8 people showing up with luggage expecting to be accommodated, about how none of them had asked. They'd just taken, or tried to. And when I stopped them, I became the villain. But sitting here a year later, in my house, on my property, in my space, I knew the truth. Setting boundaries wasn't cruelty, it was survival. Saying no wasn't selfish, it was necessary. And walking away from people who demanded things they hadn't earned wasn't about being cold. It was about being clear. Some people will only see the problem when the solution stops showing up. They'll take and take until you finally stop giving. Then they'll call you the problem. But protecting what's yours, your space, your peace, your rights, that's not the problem. That's the answer. I finished my coffee as the sun set over my neighborhood. My house sat solid around me, paid off, protected, mine. Maybe someday Dad and I would have that coffee. Maybe we'd rebuild something resembling a relationship. Maybe Lisa would apologize for real instead of through Facebook posts and half-truths. Maybe not. Either way, I'd be fine. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of all. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need approval to set boundaries. And you don't need forgiveness from people who demand what they didn't earn. You just need to stand your ground. The rest works itself out. And sitting here in my house, watching the day end peacefully, I knew I'd done exactly that. The house my mother protected for me. The space my father signed away. The home that was mine in every way that mattered. Nobody could take it from me. Not through manipulation, not through guilt, not through 8 people in suitcases. Nobody. And that was enough.